AITA for telling my sister she can't barge into my apartment and dog nap my dog to meet random strangers. So this has happened twice. My sister has unlocked the door to my apartment and taken my dog to show him off to strangers. He's a corgi and he's the only corgi in our town, so people get weird about it. The first time, I was so shocked that I just watched her take my dog away. He came back 20 minutes later, but still. The second time, I was in the shower and didn't hear her come in, so obviously, when I came out of the shower and my dog was nowhere to be found, I freaked out. My sister left the door wide open and I thought he had gotten outside or someone had broken in and taken him. I called my mom, who then told me that my sister was at her place with her friend and my dog. I call my sister screaming through the phone to bring him back ASAP. I am recovering from a painful back injury and I have to limit my movements to a minimum. I am also in a lot of pain from walking in general and even standing for a 20 minutes shower. I had a chair but it broke and I'm waiting for the replacement. Is difficult, so I couldn't just go and get him myself. 6 hours and many irate calls later, she comes back with him. I go off on her, telling her that she can't just take my dog to meet strangers. My dog is friendly but still. And that she can't just barge into my apartment without knocking or letting me know ahead of time. She argues that because of my injury, it would be good for him to get outside and do something else. She completely ignored the fact that I have friends who help me walk him and that he does spend 3 out of 7 days a week at my mother to give him some space while I recover, but he's fine and at his happiest when he's with me, and that my injury does not excuse her from taking him from me without my knowledge and or my permission. I then tell her to hand over the keys, get the hell out and leave me alone. She leaves and I get texts from her, her friends and my parents saying that I was overreacting. I know my sister wouldn't do anything to hurt my dog, but she oversteps my boundaries, something she and my brother does all the time, but that's another story. Was I the asshole here? Update: I was not expecting so many answers and advices in the response to this post. My building manager has agreed to change it this morning and now, only I have the keys. I want to explain further a few things I've noticed I might not have explained properly. 1. My accident was truly a freak accident. It had rained the previous night and it was at the same time a cold night, so it made a thin layer of ice on the path I was walking with my dog, and I didn't realize it was slippery before it was too late. I landed awkwardly and hit the ground hard. I wasn't able to get back up, I couldn't move from the pain, and I was stuck until someone else came by. About 20 minutes later, I was taken to a hospital, but doctors didn't find anything wrong, other than some bruising. I don't know why I have issues walking, but I am improving day by day. I also forgot to mention that I live in Norway. 2. I have friends who help me take him for walks. Feeding him is difficult, but my friend helps me prepare feed so I can just pour it into the bowl without having to bend over. However, she cannot look after him outside of that. She has a job. I do too, but I work from home ATM. This is why he's at my mom's place sometimes. He's only a year old and still very much a puppy at heart, which in my condition can get frustrating. My mother has a large yard and 2 dogs of her own, so letting him stay with her, he gets an outlet, he gets to play with other dogs, and I get a break to take it easy. Also, my mother is on probation, so she can't go outside at certain times of the day, so she can't help me much. 3. As for the 6 hours that passed until I got him back, I wasn't worried about him being with my sister. She'd never hurt him, but it was the way that she took him that shook me to my core. 4. The lack of awareness of personal boundaries is something my sister and brother, that's another story, has struggled with for a long time, but talking to them about it has ended up in many fights, and I'm too tired to get into it with them anymore. 5. I'd how to share a photo of my dog with you, so I uploaded it to my profile if you're interested in seeing him. His name is Ludviken. Thank you again for the rewards. I truly don't deserve them, but I hope this clears some things up, as I can't possibly answer the 600+ comments even if I tried. NTA. Leaving a door open like she did could also put you in grave danger. Also, who does that? Seriously? My dog is cute, but I can't imagine any of my sisters disappearing like that with her without telling me __. NTA, and you might want to push back with your own narrative, really highlight the safety issues when your parents complain. I was in the shower and she left the door wide open. Anyone could have walked in while I was in the shower. I have a back injury and can barely walk, and she leaves my door unlocked and forces me to painfully lock up after her. What if I don't even notice the next time she doesn't care enough to lock my door and I get robbed? Instead of my sister borrows my dog, my negligent sister risks my safety and health might work better as an argument with your parents. Just a thought. Not to mention, if the sister hadn't taken the dog to their mother's, Up wouldn't have known he was with the sister. She could have hurt her back again trying to look for him in the neighborhood, or she might have called the cops assuming he'd been dog-napped, which he actually had been. NTA. NTA. She probably told family and friends bullshit story how she tried to help but you went off on her or something. Never give her your keys, and if family and friends keep pestering you, tell them the truth. She barges in, doesn't communicate about anything, leaves door wide open for anyone to just come in and take your stuff while you're literally in the shower. That's not normal. This also leaves up very vulnerable to a violent intruder. NTA. If your sister cannot respect your boundaries, change your locks and get a doorbell camera. Sister's behavior is so over the line that she may try taking other things as well. If she persists/escalates, you may need the video. I'd also reconsider letting your mother take the dog at all if she won't back you up on reining in your sister. NTA. WIBTA for reporting a coworker to HR for trying to feed me. Edit, to address a few commonly raised points. Said no thank you, repeatedly, to her face when she gave the food. She in turn would refuse to leave my desk or to stop talking to me, in the break room or halls, until I took it. She returned to work late November, before Thanksgiving, and started this behavior almost immediately. I waited until 12/8 to speak with our boss, who is a woman, if that matters, and only then started counting the incidents. She is also no longer pregnant, rather I should have said that she returned from maternity leave. Edit 2/1/8. I'm aware I misused HIPAA but was referencing it in the context that she should know better than to pry into medical history to satisfy her curiosity. Also, I wasn't thinking clearly when I said that to her. Edit 2 post. The post being locked. Here, I, 24M, am a small man. 5'4" and 103 pounds as of my last physical. I'm well aware I'm at an unhealthy weight. My entire life I've been small, mostly due to illnesses and myriad allergies, and it's admittedly a sore spot. I am working with my doctor to gain weight while still fitting in with my dietary restrictions: no meat, dairy, gluten, or nuts, and honestly I'm so much better than I was several months ago and proud of myself for the progress I've made. Coworker, Peg, 30F, got pregnant and recently returned to work late November. She's been increasingly overt and uncomfortable in her concern for me. Peg made and brought in cupcakes for her return, and when I thanked her for thinking of us but refused, citing my gluten allergy, she was visibly upset. She didn't shout or complain much, just sighed heavily and said that she would put this one in the break room with the rest. Felt awful. Then, she brought me a steak sandwich the next day, on gluten-free bread. Again I thanked her, but I had brought in my own lunch and needed to focus on that. Peg told me it was in the fridge for when I finished. Ended up bringing it home so she wouldn't feel bad and gave it to my BF. Next day, she approached again. I refused again. She insisted. By now we weren't alone in the break room. She joked that it was rude to refuse a home-cooked meal in favor of that, my lunch. At that point I just took it and thanked her. BF ended up eating it. Then she just started leaving bagged snacks on my desk. She would approach with a snack or a portion of whatever she made for dinner the night before, and not leave me be until I had taken it. I went to our boss and explained that I felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. So, been taking notes since then: what days Peg has given what, when, who witnessed it, etc. From 12/8 to now she's done it 23 times. Yesterday I took Peg aside and explained that while I was touched, I would appreciate if she wouldn't bring in anything else. She said that I should have said something sooner, she was only trying to help, Have I seen myself in a mirror? Does your boyfriend like you starving yourself? Among other phrases. Livid, I told her that maybe I didn't feel like sharing my personal medical history with her just so that my wishes were respected. For God's sake, we work with a hospital, don't you know anything about HIPAA? We parted from there, me childishly storming off and her in tears. Have I already been a huge ass, and would a report to HR just be the icing on the cake? NTA, but hear me out. I think you should bring this up to HR primarily to report how your boss handled, or in this case, did not handle, the issue. You can say that you think you and your coworker have resolved the situation and hope there will be no further incidents to report, but that you want to provide the documented evidence just in case, as well as express your frustration that you were essentially told your discomfort does not matter because the offending party is pregnant. NTA. Even if she stops now, you can tell HR that you had a discussion with her and you do not require action at this moment, but you want to put this on record. Consider this: what if she complains to HR about a hostile work environment? Make sure your side of the story is on record somewhere. I went to our boss and explained that I felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. Can I just say that this boss is a huge asshat? Your coworker is clueless and annoying, but your boss should have taken action here. They just didn't want to deal with it, so your complaint wasn't properly addressed. She's the biggest TA in all of this. Edit: boss is a woman, not a man. Thanks to those who pointed it out. You weren't childishly storming off, you were leaving after setting an appropriate boundary. NTA. NTA. Yes, you might have just told her to stop at the beginning without giving your medical history, but she likely wouldn't have listened. I would report her and your boss. Boss should have stepped in the moment you asked. Literally just finished a work harassment training and this is like, checking all the boxes. Unwelcome and pervasive, changing the dynamic of the workplace, and supervisor has not stepped in 23 fucking times. I'm surprised Op has been so patient. Breaks my heart he'd feel bad for this. AITA for taking my mom's side and telling my wife that my mom did not verbally abuse her. My mom and my wife have never been close, but I don't think either of them have been in the wrong until this situation. They just don't click. My wife is really into making soap. She sells it on social media and recently quit her job to sell soap full time. My mom has literally never said anything negative about the soap, but when she was asked to buy it she declined. My wife is like a dog with a bone, trying to get my mom to buy this soap. She asks her every time we see her, and when my mom declines, my wife starts listing the virtues of the soap and trying to force my mom to smell it. She has also brought my mom's finances into it and argued that my mom and stepdad both make good money, and speculated about how much my mom spends on her wardrobe, which really isn't our business. Well, my mom stopped by the other day to see the kids. Before she left she used our bathroom, and my wife stood outside the door yelling the whole time about how is the soap in there, and don't you like it? My mom came out looking pissed, and my wife immediately offered her a friends and family discount. My mom screamed, I don't want your fucking soap. If you aren't making enough money from the soap, that isn't my problem, and I don't want to hear about the fucking soap again. And then my mom left. My wife immediately asked what I was going to do, and I said that I would talk to my mom, but my wife should have dropped it with the soap. My wife said that wasn't good enough and that my mom had committed verbal abuse. I replied that I don't consider that verbal abuse, and now my wife is very upset and feels like I'm taking my mom's side and that I should set boundaries with my mom. But I feel like my mom kind of set a boundary when she said she didn't want to buy the soap, and my wife didn't give a fuck about that.